Okay, so you know how sometimes there's news that's so crazy you'd think it was straight out of like a movie or something?
Yeah.
Well, this is one of those times thousands of federal employees fired just like that, and then a few weeks later a judge is all, nope, bring 'em back. I mean,
So
talk about whiplash.
it's a wild situation for sure, happened just in the past month or so, February and March 2025, and that's exactly what we're going to dig into today.
This isn't some internet rumor mill stuff either. We've
Yeah.
got actual news reports, legal analysis, all the good stuff to try and understand this whole power struggle that's going on.
We're on a mission here, right?
Yeah.
Got to figure out what exactly happened, why it's a huge deal, and what this all means for federal jobs, and, who calls the shots.
And let me tell you, there's some seriously surprising twists in this story, like accusations of straight up sham reasons for these firings. And then we've got Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, somehow mixed up in all of this.
All right, that's going to get interesting.
Okay, so rewind to February 2025. Picture this. Thousands of probationary federal employees. And we're talking big agencies here. Department of Veterans Affairs, Agriculture, Defense, Energy, Interior, Treasury.
Oh, yeah.
At least at first, they all get these termination letters. Bam.
Just like that. In the letters, they all said performance was the reason for getting the boot.
Performance, huh?
Yeah, interesting. Right. And then later on, a court ruling in Maryland actually expanded things, ended up involving a whopping 18 federal agencies.
18. Okay, so hold on. For those of us not deep in the weeds of federal employment, what exactly does probationary employee mean in this context?
So basically, in the federal government, a probationary employee is someone who's in their first year, maybe 2 years on the job. The key difference here is they don't have as many job protections as employees who are considered permanent.
Ah, so they're more vulnerable.
Exactly. And that lack of protection became a major factor in all the legal challenges that came up after.
Which brings us to those legal challenges, because, these firings didn't just happen, and everyone was like, oh, well.
Not a chance, unions, and all sorts of advocacy groups, they filed a lawsuit almost immediately.
Good for them.
Their argument was that these firings weren't about individual performance. It was a coordinated move coming from the top, and they claimed it was directed by the Office of Personnel Management, OPM.
And wasn't there another legal battle going on around the same time that kind of relates to this?
You're right. Around that same time, 21 state attorneys general, they went after the Department of Education over how they were restructuring things, it's mentioned, because it kind of shows this bigger trend of pushback against some of the administration's actions.
So these cases are working their way through the courts, and then bam, Minor 13th, 2025, Judge William Alsup in California drops a major bomb.
Major is right. He issued what's called a preliminary injunction, which is basically a court order that says you got to do this or you can't do that until we figure this whole thing out.
So what did he order?
He said those thousands of probationary employees at those first 6 agencies, they had to be reinstated immediately, like right now.
And I heard he didn't exactly mince words about his opinion on all this.
Oh, no, he did not. Judge Alsup was furious. He called the whole performance justification a sham, a gimmick. He flat out said he believed it was done to avoid the Reduction in Force Act, RIF.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
To give you a taste of how strongly he felt about this, he said, and I quote, "It is a sad day when our government would fire some good employee and say it was based on performance when they know good and well that's a lie. That should not have been done in our country. It was a sham in order to try to avoid statutory requirements."
Whoa, strong words. And he didn't stop at just the reinstatement order, did he?
Nope. Judge Alsup also said OPM couldn't issue any more guidance on firing these employees, or any other probationary employees for that matter, essentially put a pause on them orchestrating any more mass firings like this.
And it sounds like he was determined to get to the bottom of who was pulling the strings here.
Absolutely. He ordered immediate discovery and deposition of Noah Peters, a senior advisor at OPM who has ties to Elon Musk's DOGE. Now, discovery and deposition, that's where one side in the lawsuit gets to ask the other side a bunch of questions under oath, trying to piece together the truth.
So basically, Judge Alsup wanted to put DOGE under the microscope.
Yeah, see if they had a hand in all of this. And here's another interesting bit. The Justice Department's lawyer didn't exactly make a good impression on the judge.
Oh, what happened?
Well, first, they refused to let OPM's acting director Charles Ezell be questioned by the other side. And then Ezell had given a sworn statement, a declaration, but then the Justice Department took it back. Judge Alsup was not happy, called it a sham, too. He said, and I quote, "The government, I believe, has tried to frustrate the judge's ability to get at the truth of what happened here and then set forth sham declarations. That's not the way it works in the U.S. District Court." He even said, "I tend to doubt that you're telling me the truth," to the Justice Department's lawyer.
Wow. I mean, that's got a sting coming from a judge.
Yeah, pretty clear sign that Judge Alsup thought they were hiding something.
So we've got this drama unfolding in California, and get this, the same day on the other side of the country, another legal smackdown is going down.
It's true. March 13th was a busy day. Judge James Bredar in Maryland issued a separate temporary restraining order, and this one was even broader. It said they had to temporarily reinstate probationary employees at 18 federal agencies.
So both judges on the same day saying, put those employees back to work.
Exactly. And Judge Bredar, he also wasn't buying the whole performance issues explanation. He straight up said, on the record before the court, this isn't true. There were no individualized assessments of employees. They were all just fired. Collectively. Basically saying this is a coordinated effort, not individual decisions.
Okay, so two federal judges saying, nope, not cool. You'd think the administration might back down a bit, but their response was, shall we say, rather heated.
Heated is putting it mildly. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt, she went off, called the rulings absurd and unconstitutional, she said, and this is a direct quote. If a federal district court judge would like executive powers, they can try and run for president themselves. The Trump administration will immediately fight back against this absurd and unconstitutional order.
Okay, so fighting words, and they did fight back, legally speaking, at least.
Yep. Right after Judge Alsup's ruling, the Justice Department filed a notice of appeal, which basically means they're going to challenge the decision in a higher court, the Ninth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals in this case.
So round two of the legal battle.
Exactly. And Leavitt, she also threw around the term judicial activists.
Oh, that's a loaded term.
It is. She claimed these judges were trying to block the president's authority. She even said there had been 50 injunctions against the administration just in February, trying to paint this picture of the courts overstepping their bounds.
Okay, but let's circle back to OPM and this whole DOGE thing. Judge Alsup seemed pretty sure OPM was the mastermind behind these firings.
Yeah, remember, he said, the Office of Personnel Management did direct all agencies to terminate probationary employees. So not just suggestions or guidelines. This was a direct order, according to the judge.
And at the center of it all, OPM's acting director, Charles Ezell.
Right, and the whole situation with his withdrawn declaration that really raised eyebrows. Judge Alsup seemed to think the administration was trying to cover up OPM's role.
No, about this DOGE thing, Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency sounds like they were a big factor, even if their name wasn't in every legal document.
Definitely. While Judge Alsup didn't mention Elon Musk by name, sources say DOGE was a major force behind this push to shrink the federal workforce. Liz Fuller, president of a local chapter of the American Federation of Government Employees, AFGE, in Sacramento, she said, he was on everybody's mind. So clearly people felt DOGE's goals were a big reason for the firings.
Okay, so stepping back for a second, what are the bigger implications of all this, legally speaking, and for everyday people?
Well, for starters, this case really throws down the gauntlet when it comes to how much power the executive branch has over federal employment. Judge Alsup basically said, you can't just make up excuses to get around the law, so the courts are saying, we're watching you.
And it puts OPM right in the hot seat.
Definitely all this scrutiny on OPM's role and how they operate. That's a big deal. The judge's criticism and the whole Ezell situation raises serious questions about how OPM does business and who's holding them accountable.
What about those probationary employees? They don't have a lot of options for fighting back, right?
You're right. They usually can't appeal to the Merit Systems Protection Board, MSPB. That's the group that handles employee appeals, unless it was for political reasons, marital status, or something like that. Judge Alsup even said he was worried about the administration trying to weaken the MSPB, which would make it even harder for employees to get a fair shake. But these rulings, they show that even probationary employees have some protection if they're fired illegally or if someone's trying to skirt the rules.
And for DOGE and their whole mission to downsize the government, this can't be good news.
No, these legal challenges, they throw a wrench in their plans, especially when it comes to firing probationary employees without a good reason. It shows that even if you're trying to make the government more efficient, you still got to play by the rules.
So basically the courts are saying, not so fast.
Exactly. This whole situation, it really highlights how important judicial oversight is. These judges, they're making it clear that they're going to keep a close eye on the executive branch and make sure they're following the law.
And I'm guessing this isn't over yet, legally speaking?
Oh, I doubt it. The Justice Department's already appealed, so we'll probably see more legal wrangling, the questions about executive power, OPM's role, and employee rights. Those are big issues, not going to get resolved overnight.
There was also this idea that the administration might have been trying to dodge the Reduction in Force Act, RIF, on purpose to avoid certain employee protections. Can you explain that a bit more?
Yeah, so RIF isn't just a set of procedures. It actually has stuff in there to help federal employees who are laid off, like giving them priority for other government jobs or maybe better severance pay. Judge Alsup thought maybe the administration called these firings performance-related to avoid triggering RIF and all those protections.
So potentially trying to save money or something?
Possibly. It's definitely something that raised red flags for the judge.
So here we are, thousands of federal employees fired, then told to come back, all within a few weeks. It's exposed this power struggle between the executive and judicial branches, and it makes you think about how much power the president really has and what rights federal employees have, even those just starting out.
And it leaves us with some big questions. What does all this tell us about the balance of power in our government right now? And what does it mean for the future of public service? Is this focus on probationary employees part of a bigger plan? And what happens if this keeps going or goes even further in the courts? It really makes you think about how we protect the people who work for the government and what their rights are.
It's a lot to consider, that's for sure. And definitely a story worth keeping an eye on. Thanks for breaking it all down.
Anytime, it's important to stay informed.
Absolutely. And for all you listeners out there, thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We'll keep you updated as this story develops.
Stay tuned.